My name is Sonia Nazario, and I'm a journalist and author. I write about social issues, and I tend to focus on social justice issues, and I write about women and children and minorities in this country, often Latinos, and the poor. So that's been what I've done now for 25 years for the Wall Street Journal, the Los Angeles Times, and in book form as well. So I write about a range of social issues, from writing about hunger and drug addiction to writing about immigration. And in one case, that writing about immigration turned into a book called Enrique's Journey. My perception of the American dream is to be able to come to the United States and have economic opportunities, and to be able to vote for the person that you want to be your leader. And so in Libya now, people are dying for the opportunity to be able to elect their leaders. So to me, the American dream is democracy, and it's being able to move up from one class to another, which is rare. In many countries in the world, you're born into one class and you stay in that class. And in the United States, it is possible. And I've seen this in my own family's case, where my parents came here and didn't have much, and through education and work, they were able to reach the middle class. And so I think that, to me, is the American dream. I think the American dream has gotten more difficult over the last decade or 2 decades, as there's been a growing gap between the poor and the wealthy in this country. I think bridging that gap and making that leap from one class to another has become more difficult. My parents, my father's family was poor when they left Syria for Argentina, and they struggled in Argentina. My mother's family was poor when they left Poland. Her father had to steal firewood to heat the home. Very difficult times during the Great Depression in Poland, and come to Argentina. And my father was the one person who the family could spend money on to send him to college, to send him to be educated. The girls, there wasn't enough money to have them do that in Argentina. And he came here and continued his education. And when my father died, my family went from being middle class to being working class, because my mother had never gone beyond high school, and she worked as a seamstress and worked as a cook for minimum wage, and I bussed tables when I was 15 years old to help her pay the bills. So when I went to college, I went on a full ride, a full need-based scholarship, and I think through my determination to become educated and to stick to what I wanted to do, no matter how difficult it was, I was able to crawl back up into the middle class and have a very rewarding career that I really love, that I feel is meaningful. And I really believe that the United States is one of the few countries where that still is possible. It's more difficult, but I think I'm the embodiment of that being possible. I think I wear that label of activist somewhat reluctantly. Journalists view themselves as objective observers, and I have slowly moved into the area of being more of an activist. I came to be a journalist as a result of my experiences in Argentina, where both of my parents are from. When my father died when I was 13 of a heart attack, my mother took us all back to Argentina during a very bad time when the military was taking over the country and would end up killing 30,000 people. And I saw journalists there being killed for trying to tell the truth about what was happening in that society. And I felt that because of that information vacuum that had resulted, because people couldn't tell folks what was happening, the military were able to get away with doing more and more of what they were doing. And so, and I really saw that to flourish in terms of any democracy, you needed a vibrant press. And so I think very early on I decided I was going to become a journalist, and I was going to try to tell those social issues, social justice issues, so that they could be brought to light and hopefully educate people and motivate people to do something about those issues. I think the American dream, as it's perceived in Latin America, is that money grows on trees and that the streets are paved with gold. I think that too often that's the perception of what life is like here. There's not a real understanding that you're going to come here and you're going to work incredibly hard, that you may have to work 2 or 3 jobs, that you may live in an apartment stuffed in with 20 other people, or in Los Angeles where I live in a converted garage, and sleep 4 or 5 hours a night trying to make headway in this country. And so I think the view of the American dream in Latin America is somewhat skewed. And I think that's partly because when people talk back to folks in their home countries, I think largely out of pride. They emphasize all the wonderful things. I make $8 an hour, and I have a car, and no one in my little hometown has a car. So, but what they don't emphasize, again, I think out of pride, is how hard life is here. And so when immigrants come here, they're kind of shocked that money does not grow on trees, and that life is a lot harder than they envisioned, and that it's going to take an enormous effort to be able to pay your bills and survive, much less get ahead. And so I think part of my job has been to educate people about that it is much harder than people think it will be here in the United States. I would say to immigrants who are trying to pursue the American dream now that there have been moments of difficulty for immigrants throughout American history. I mean, in the 1800s, 1880s, we had the Chinese Exclusion Act. During the Great Depression, we deported 1 million Mexicans. So usually when the economy is bad, we want to get rid of people and tell them to leave, and when the economy is good, we welcome immigrants with open arms because we need them for labor. So I guess what I would tell immigrants is that there's a very clear pattern in this country, and that this too will pass, this recession will pass, hopefully, and times will get better, and I think Americans will be much more welcoming to immigrants than they have been for the last decade or so. So I think I would counsel them to have patience and to try to, in the meantime, learn English, to try to encourage their children to stay in school, to try to understand the culture and customs of this country and assimilate as so many previous generations have done.